Good night, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Well met for all of you tuning into another episode by JRPGN. I am your host, Fu, presenting myself as a Jamaican tropical mockingbird. Why? Apologies, this is not the episode, we'll be getting into that. But thankfully, I'm not going to be the only woodland creature here in this strange forest. You guys have come to listen to another episode by JRPGN. I'm accompanied by another voice, another Jamaican who's into RPGs as much as I am, and has seniority over me because of how long he's been in the thing. Alistair, please introduce yourself a little bit to our listeners.
All right. Hello, folks. I'm Alistair. As far as my online presence goes, I can be found at Mongoose, spelled a little differently. So I'm sure that'll be in the description below at the end of the podcast. But yeah, very much into RPGs. I've been playing for a good long while, and I I really respect what's being done, trying to get new people into the hobby. So yeah, here I am.
Wicked awesome and very cool. And thank you for being here with us on this podcast. And thank you wholeheartedly from the bottom of my heart from toughing it out with me on this journey trying to record two people on this thing remotely. My kerfuffles with my recording system platforms and interfaces and devices has caused us to go through 4 separate recording attempts. This is our 4th attempt to get this one done. So we've actually accumulated well over 3 hours of conversations thinking that we've completed this task, but only because yours truly has only just now figured out how to use this thing properly. We're here starting it for the 4th time. So an apology to you, Alistair, and a sincere thanks for coming back and toughing it out and getting this out to the people.
I'm sure it'll definitely be smoother in your subsequent episodes. It's part of the process. We learn.
Yeah.
So,
Straight up. You guys look out for if Alistair's voice. This is the second time I've actually invited him to do a podcast with me. We've got some other stuff coming down the line, a couple interesting episodes, a couple more interviews with other veterans in the island who are into RPGs, as well as a conversation with some very interesting people over the different topics around RPGs in general. But that's not what this episode is about. We are going to be looking at a list on Wikipedia, a list of RPGs. From the first conversation I had with Alistair, he pointed out to me that the list is rather incomplete. It has a lot of RPGs on the list over the years, but it doesn't have everything. There's a list of indie games, new titles, and other obscure titles that are not on the list. I was very shocked to see that one of my favorite games that was released by a credited and award-winning writer who's worked on some of your favorite games already. One of his games is not on this list. From what I understand, it is community built, and people can kind of add and subtract from the list as time goes by. So God knows what all that means. Basically, you guys will be hearing two nerds go over this list and talk about our own experiences with RPGs and some of our own favorites that may or may not on this list. If you want to find out more about a game that you're interested, we encourage you, hopefully, after listening to this, to go out on that search and find the right RPG for you. But before we jump into that, a quick premise to why we even got here. RPGs, tabletop RPGs as we know them today, they have actually a origin in wargaming games, wargame tabletop roots. As early as the 1700s, there was a, I called it Kyrgyzstan last time, which is so wrong. It's not Kyrgyzstan. I have the name of it right in front of me. Oh, that's why I can't pronounce it properly. Kriegspiel. Kriegspiel.
Kriegspiel. Okay. Uh-huh.
Kriegspiel. Alright, that sounds accurate. Thank you, Alistair. Kriegspiel in the 1800s in Germany, developed by George von Riswitz. I'm butchering that as well. Used by the Perusian military to train officers. These kind of games, as fun as they might be, just putting them together, it was actually used for strategy tactics. The personnel would use them to train soldiers and plan out what could happen on the battlefield and ready all sorts of strategies so that when they actually do go out to war, they would have a couple different plays that they would have actually simulated with this type of game style and had ways and means of commanding people live on the battlefield to assume this position based on previous trainings in this kind of game, if you can imagine, which is just wild. And that is one of the first recorded war style tactics games. Little Wars in 1913 by H.G. Wells was developed mostly for fun, and it played with, I don't know if any of you listeners are old enough to recognize little green plastic soldiers melded basically out of one piece of plastic with a flat base that is stand up, and it was designed to play with those and give players a more strategic way to play the games and be fair as to whether or not my guy actually shot your guy. And yeah, that game did pretty well commercially, and it was distributed around the world. But it wasn't until the 1970s when Gary Gygax started to add fantasy to wargaming and bridge to what RPGs that we know as today. And again, if you RPGs being role-playing games. Chainmail was his first game in 1971, but it's when he partnered up with what was his name again? I forgot the person he partnered with. I had a name right here. Yeah, Dave Anderson. Gary Gygax and Dave Anderson are the guys who got together and developed Dungeons and Dragons, which allowed players to not play entire armies per se, but to focus on individuals and build characters with characteristics and abilities, weapons and armor, and give them agency and actually allow the players to move them around and control that player specifically. And then you'd have a dungeon master, which is the game master who learns how to play the game, sets up the world and scenarios for these other players to play. And that is the birth of the RPGs that we've been nerding about today. And that's what brought us here to this list. If you guys want to follow us along and have fun, you can do that. I think I don't know what you think about this idea. I don't even know where to start. This is just crazy. It starts with numbers and goes down to Z, depending on how I organize it. But yeah, that's the origin of RPGs in general. Speaking of origin, let's get to know a little bit about these two voices you guys are listening to. Alistair, welcome again. Do you mind giving the listeners a brief origin story as to what brought you to the RPG tables in the first place?
All right. So, obviously love games, video games, anime, manga, the works. But I had never played any RPG, tabletop RPG, until roughly 7 years ago. Was my first time playing. I was abroad in China, and I had the pleasure of being invited to a table, and I played for maybe, like, I don't know, an hour and a half, two, I don't know, a short amount of time. That was my first time playing, but like immediately after I played the first one, I said, "Yeah, I'm gonna get this book. I'm gonna start a table because I didn't know anybody really that played. So I was like, "Nah, I'm just gonna start this thing." I had very little experience, but yeah, it was one of the best decisions of my life, just jumping in.
My mind was blown this second time we were recording when I asked you what country it was and you told me it was China. I've been talking to you since the January 2023. I think that's when we
Mm.
first started talking. This whole time, I had no idea that you'd been to China. That was amazing, and so far away. I actually
Yep.
thought when you first told me the story that you're in America. Um,
No, no.
but what was the dynamics of the players you were with? Like, was it all Chinese you were playing with?
No, actually, it was at a university. It was multicultural. I think English, French, Italian, two Jamaicans, and one Chinese person actually. So it's very across the world. They had been playing for some time as a friend group, and I was visiting, so it was, yeah, guest appearance basically.
That's awesome. Are you still in contact with those people?
No, actually, no, they've all got off the various, I guess, aspects of life. But no, not in contact anymore. That's where it goes.
That's cool. And how long ago this was that? Did that tell us earlier?
So that was, well, I guess it's closer to the 8 year mark from now.
Yeah.
So yeah, I can do some math. Where are we? 25 minutes. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Mhm.
So
Wow. Well over 7 years, almost 8 years.
yep,
Um,
yep.
that's well. I was late to the game. I started 2020. I tuned into what my own personal interest in RPGs back in 2013. I've always heard about Dungeons and Dragons, but I didn't bat my eyes too hard towards what the whole genre was. It just didn't hit my radar. Um, but it was the announcement by CD Projekt Red and a company called Artel Sorian that was putting together a video game called simply Cyberpunk. I liked the teaser trailer. I liked the music on the thing. The theme was exciting to me. The genre itself is exciting from the books and the movies available. It's cyberpunk. Who didn't like the Matrix? Um, but like most things that interest me, I always want to find the source material. So if there's a book, movie that's out, to try and see if there's a book it was based off of. And indeed, this game was based off of a book. And a book that was called a tabletop RPG. And the name of the RPG was Cyberpunk 2020. Um, which was interesting. I got my hands on the book, but I didn't read it until the year 2020 when it was announced that the game itself, after those years, was finally being released um, in December that year. And before that, there was going to be a second edition to the Cyberpunk 2020. So before all of those came out, I had to play the game first to see where all this came from, where the seed was. And yeah, it was Halloween 2020. I read Cyberpunk 2020 by Mike Pondsmith and his team at RSL Sorian Games, and it was extremely exciting. Just reading the book, right? It set up the world. It explained what the universe was like. It was um, just far future and not so deep fantasy like other stories, which was exciting for me. The way that it described the kind of characters I could build and the stuff I could attach to them, and how the game mechanics was explained in the book was very exciting already. So after reading the book, I was sold. I went online, I found a table playing, and they had me sign up as a medtech on their trauma team adventure. And yeah, there was a Trinidadian in there. I think there was a European in there and two other Americans. And I'm not gonna forget that game anytime soon. It got me on this journey of playing RPGs. I've not looked back. It's been very exciting, nonstop. Um, but yeah, Dungeons and Dragons. I took a look at the list while you were talking a while ago, and I found this here, which I didn't know existed. There's a game on the list called Adventures in Middle Earth.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this is by Cubicle 7. I was aware of another RPG that's a couple people that I've been following personally online based on the Middle Earth adventure called The One Ring.
Right. Yes, that's the 5e, like 5e analog kind of so Dungeons and Dragon issue.
Okay, so I haven't even looked in this one to see what it was.
Yeah,
Um,
it's very if you play D&D,
oh,
the One Ring is pretty similar in terms of how it works. So yeah, I have read it. I haven't played it because just didn't have much interest personally. But yeah, it's well made.
okay. Well, this one here, I'm reading it, and it says that the game uses a somewhat modified set of rules drawn from the 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons on the Open Game
There you go.
license by Wizards of the Coast, published in 2016. I didn't know this existed. Most of my family members, I have two siblings that have read almost one. One of them have read all the books, including the Silmarillion. I just started the Silmarillion, and I have a sister who loves the movie. She spammed that thing so many times. Like if you go and visit her, there's a good chance the extended director's cut trilogy is on repeat in her yard, right?
But
So
personally, I'd say read the book backwards, just read the trilogy, then the Hobbit, then the Silmarillion last. I mean, Silmarillion's for like diehard fans,
I
really.
didn't know the Silmarillion exists. I didn't
Yeah, I
understand
would
that.
say if you read the trilogy, if you want. Actually, no,
I
read
did
the
no.
Hobbit first.
Yeah, no, I
Read
read
the
the
Hobbit
trilogy.
first. Right, yeah, yeah. Read the Hobbit first, then you can go to Lord of the Rings and then read Silmarillion and ask me you want all the lore and backstory.
That's what most of us did. We read Hobbit and then the trilogy, and it was a
Right,
fun
yeah.
adventure. And Silmarillion, we're going Silmarillion. I started it. I got the gist. I saw the father of George R. R. Martin, and
Ah,
all of that. Um, but no, but this also brings an interesting conundrum that will hit players who are jumping into this hobby for the first time. What are we to tell or advise the JR Tolkien fan out there that is interested in jumping into RPGs? Not so much Dungeons and Dragons, but they love the idea of playing in Middle Earth. Which Lord of the Rings RPG should I choose?
I
Um,
mean, the good thing about the One Ring conversion is that if your friends have already played D&D, it'll be much easier for them to learn. As far as RPGs go, yeah, maybe learning your first one can be difficult, but your second one is actually your most difficult RPG to learn because you've gotten used to the first one. But
ah,
yeah, after your second one, your third, fourth, fifth, no, it's piece of cake. But as far as I'd say for fans of Middle Earth,
uh-huh.
two things. If you're planning to run it, you can always put it to your friends and run the One Ring if you want. Or to be honest, you can use D&D and change setting, which is the good thing about RPGs. You don't
Mhm.
have to run it in the setting that the people, for example, in D&D have written it in. You can change things up, and take things out,
Mhm.
if you're planning to run. But yeah, if you found a bunch of real Middle Earth fans who love Lord of the Rings, yeah, go for the One Ring. That's probably a good suggestion. But yeah, you can also, for maybe a little bit more flexibility, you can learn D&D. It works. It works. D&D does most things well.
This is true. I know a lot of players, and the amount of just how old the community is and how vast the homebrews and the systems are. There's a lot of games that you can play just from D&D as a base. The community has contributed so many compendiums, homebrews, and sample systems for you to play just about anything you want using D&D. I've been playing in the world of Hogwarts using a D&D compendium known as Wands and Wizards. I believe
Okay.
that's the name of the system. Um,
Oh,
I've met two dungeon masters, a veteran and a noob who love Harry Potter, have read the books, played D&D, and then found this compendium and ran it.
Okay.
When I was invited to play D&D for the first time in 2022, um, I my MMO experience was a game for Final Fantasy 14. I found a Final Fantasy compendium for 5e.
Well,
Yeah,
um,
so
so there's a lot of homebrew stuff.
I was happy to find that.
And
That was exciting.
yeah, so I think like in one of our previous questions we had asked, so like obviously if D&D does a lot of things, why play other systems, right?
Mm.
And that is a valid question. So yeah, there's lots of homebrew of people changing the setting, adding things, taking stuff out.
Mm.
Um, but
Converting.
I get right.
Lots of
But
converting.
I think much like there's many ways to skin a cat, as people
Mm.
say. But I think I described it as you can definitely eat soup with a fork. It might not be the best way, but if you keep going at it,
Yeah.
you'll get it done. You'll get it done. But
Yeah.
there's definitely systems, much like for example the whole one ring system.
Hmm.
It's definitely built for Lord of the Rings. Like if you want to have that kind of fun, it's built for that. And there's definitely systems for built for mechs, built for horror, built for
Hmm.
comedy, built for light fun, for different kinds of fun. Just the same way how Uno and Monopoly are just different games. They're just different games, and they're built for different kinds of fun. So I definitely encourage people to try out other systems because you might find out. Because D&D isn't my favorite system. It isn't. It's good, but it's not my favorite system. And I wouldn't have found this out if I didn't try any other systems. So I definitely encourage people in the hobby try different stuff, try different genres, try different we call intellectual property, different fandoms. Try it all, and you'll find out what you and your friends like the most.
That's absolutely true. Um, what about the people out there? For example, when I picked up Final Fantasy 14, I told myself and the world not to talk to me about any other MMO because I'm not going to spend the time playing any other MMO. I'm just going to play this one where I know the time sink it takes. I can play as a tall, sexy elf that looks like me in IRL. That's all I want to do. Um, to somebody who knows a time sink or feels that there's a time sink and they just want to take one RPG and play with their friends. Um, if you have experience, like Alistair says, with Dungeons and Dragons, taking up a compendium or changing the rules from how you understand it, especially once you understand how Dungeons and Dragons works, and then you can convert spells that would best fit the world and how spells and magic works in Jar Token's Middle Earth story setting, then you can do that. If you are taking this up for the first time and all you want to do is spend time in Middle Earth as an elf and dwarf and hang out with Aragon and the rest of them, and there's very little else you're interested in RPGs, picking up a system that is completely and specifically designed from the ground up for you to play Middle Earth. So everything you need is there. The world setting is there. The character builds are there. The magic and balancing and creatures from the world, it's already there in that book. So there's nothing else to pick up and look into. Buy that one book, that one ring. Wait, that's funny. I like that. Get that one ring. So yeah, um, that there when picking up RPGs, you'll find some of these are parts of others. For example, Harlem Unbound, which is a game I like playing, and it is the only way I've been playing Chaos CM's Call of Cthulhu. I picked up Call of Cthulhu stories because I'm a big horror fan. And I kept hearing people talk about how amazing H.P. Lovecraft is, the godfather of all horror. And I've been hearing it all over the years. I went and picked up his first book, Call of Cthulhu, read it, and I was horrified by how racist it was. And I've been very upset with the internet for not telling me how racist H.P. Lovecraft was. Um, that I was very, very happy to find a writer who went and created a compendium for Call of Cthulhu called Harlem Unbound, where the protagonists are investigators from Harlem of an ethnic origin. So they play into the racist situations that those kind of people had to go through in the early 1920s in Harlem and put it in the Call of Cthulhu setting. So that is how I've been playing Call of Cthulhu. A kind of yeah, that's that there. And in regards to horror, it's not the only system. I was actually thinking about this the other day. There are other systems that people have designed around horror. Oh, before I forget Call of Cthulhu, I also want to point out, when you guys talk about RPGs in the West, as Alistair mentioned, lots of people are going to be playing Dungeons and Dragons. If you go and look into the hobby and try and find people playing, you're going to find a lot of people playing Dungeons and Dragons. I was arrogant to think that I could talk to Jamaicans out here and find people who haven't played RPGs and introduce them to my favorite RPG, Cyberpunk. I was very quickly humbled to find out just how many Jamaicans already are into RPGs, and a lot of them play Dungeons and Dragons. But that's over here in the West. Canada, America, even South America, and the Caribbean. Lots of people play Dungeons and Dragons. Over in the East, is Call of Cthulhu. Call of Cthulhu is what most people in Japan particularly play when they think about RPGs. The kind of stories that they like to tell and the kind of genres that they like to get into, a lot of them have been playing Call of Cthulhu system. There's a myriad of Japanese podcasts and TV shows and YouTube presentations with people just playing Call of Cthulhu. That's wild. I thought that was wild when I looked into that. But Matt Mercer, when he created Candela Obscura, and the same writer, Chris Spivey, who created Harlem Unbound, he also went and created his own Western RPG called Haunted West. Those are other systems built with the idea of playing with horror, so they're supposed to be alternatives to Call of Cthulhu. For those of you who want to play horror but don't want to touch anything related to H.P. Lovecraft, there's options out there. Candela Obscura, Haunted West is focused in 1800s cowboy, but it is also focused on horror. It's very easy to just change the time periods of that system, like people do with Call of Cthulhu. And
let's see. I mean, I guess if you're going to talk about horror, though, I guess some of the other genres, because I know you play Mothership, which is horror sci-fi. For me, I'm not too fond of Candela Obscura. It was a good try. But in terms of other horror, Heart, which is is if you want horror fantasy, that kind of everything's weird, a bit off. For those who have watched a movie like Annihilation, Control, the video game, it blends a lot of that weirdness into fantasy setting. Let's see. Have I played any? I mean, I suppose the other games I played Triangle Age, which is more horror comedy. Let's put it that way. Oh! I thought that was you dropping off.
No, that was me laughing.
Yeah, but there are definitely a lot of versions of horror, a lot of takes on horror, if you like, and of course the other genres, of course, are existing: action, comedy, fantasy, the works. But yeah, just since we were talking about horror, I just wanted to mention those two.
Oh no, thank you for saying it, because as I am a huge horror fan, and this list of RPGs is vast. It is vast. There's so many RPGs to go through, and just looking at the little synopsis of each of them excites me. But to actually take in each of them is to sit down and read. I'm still reading Werewolf Apocalypse now, so I can get it started at the end of next month. And I've had that on my shelf for a minute. I also have a bag of other RPGs I've purchased, and I still haven't gotten to them yet. Um, it takes a while to get around it. But Heart was in my radar because of how interesting it looks. And the video game I thought of while looking at the synopsis and the art and the introduction to how the game was played. And I'm butchering its name again. I had this discussion.
Darkest Dungeon, right?
Darkest
Yes.
Dungeon is what came to mind when I read it.
I do think it's the same artist. If I remember correctly. I
That
do
makes
think
sense.
it's Darkest Dungeon and Heart. Um, but that's actually probably one of the best touchstones for if you've played Darkest Dungeon. That level of weirdness is definitely the same. But now you have fantasy races in Heart. But yeah, Heart definitely makes you. It gives a pretty good feeling of danger, which I don't think a lot of RPGs get. You definitely feel like you're in danger. And when you get hurt, it is serious. But there's definitely ways to get around it, and also your characters are pretty powerful. Um, they're fragile but powerful, so they can bribe, fight, magic their way into hopefully another day of survival. Great game. I actually own a physical copy of Heart. I don't own a lot of physical copies of books unless I absolutely love it. So I guess that's my thumbs up for Heart. I own a physical copy of that. Yeah.
That's awesome. And I have seen Annihilation. I loved it, and I do have a copy of Control in my Steam library. Haven't pressed played on it. I just need to fix back my computer. I can't wait to play it.
It's a good game, very solid.
All right, I went and grabbed one from the list. You wanna swing the roulette and grab something off of this list that may or may not be something you've played?
Well, I mean, I think the easiest things for me are talk about things that I have played. And then I guess there are stuff that I have read that I haven't played.
That is on this list.
Yeah, there's definitely a couple of things on the list that
Okay.
I have read but not played. But let's see. I guess to switch genre a little bit.
Yes.
Another, or well, maybe in the same line. But Triangle Agency is another game that I own, the physical book, and have played quite a bit. It's much like what we are talking about before. It's definitely control is the base. It's your anomalies. You have special powers, slightly X Files. But also it is comedic. It is a bit tongue in cheek, so it's also a little bit of Loki or a little bit of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, plus Control. But this is a game with really strong narrative powers. So a lot of other games, you attack, you can run, jump, etc., etc. Triangle Agency will give the players a power, like, for example, one of them has time powers, and you can just turn to the DM, and if you roll successfully, you can say, "We have enough time," and they will have enough time to defuse the bomb or hack the safe or whatever it is. So it's some very strong narrative powers, which means you have to improv a bit as a DM, which I like. I enjoy improvisation. It makes the things interesting. I like being surprised by my players, by what they come up with. So Triangle Agency is great fun, great fun. And if you want to flex a little bit of your creativity in a modern setting, it is set in the now, but with big powers, I guess. Yeah, Triangle Agency is in my S tier of RPGs.
Wow.
And it's pretty new, actually. I think it came out like last year or something.
Yeah. I'm looking at the cover art and the synopsis online. It looks like a lot of fun. In regards to the system, when it comes to system light and system heavy, where does Triangle Agency fall in regards of difficult systems to pick up and learn?
So Triangle Agency is pretty simple. As I say, it's more narrative focused, so you're not adding a whole lot of numbers. You literally only use D4s in Triangle Agency.
What?
Yeah, because it's triangles. So actually, you only you roll a 3, So they decided to only use D4s because
Uh,
yeah. But it's a simpler game
uh,
compared to D&D. It's much simpler. There's not not much math. You don't really have to track
mm,
HP more so than not because HP pretty low. You don't have to be worried about like distance numbers and ranges. It's definitely an easier system to pick up than D&D. Um, but as I said, your most difficult system to learn is always your second system. Um, because you always get used to the first one and you're like, oh, okay, all right, this is different, that's different, that's different. But your third system, fourth system, fifth system, easy cheesy, easy, easy. Because at that time you're like, oh, I understand this. Oh, it's like that. Da 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 da. Yeah. Well, yeah, triangle agency is pretty easy to pick up. Heart is also pretty easy to pick up in terms of simplicity. There's more, I think, powers or moves, magic, but it's still less numbers than D&D. Which not to say that D&D is hard, but it's just less. Yeah.
yeah, when you describe how difficult D&D is, to me, the difficult part of D&D is remembering all the spells. I when you asked me this question some time ago, I've been really trying to struggle. What is my issue with D&D? Why am I so cringy around this thing and other games like it? Because I've been, like I mentioned a little earlier to you, I'm still going through Werewolf the Apocalypse. I love werewolves. Ever since I was a kid, I was draw lots of werewolves. I can talk about werewolf movies and stories I've read over the years, all the live long day. And as a werewolf fan, those of you who know how it stay out there, it rough. We don't have a lot of good looking werewolves. We don't have a lot of good werewolf movies. You'd have to be a fan to watch some of this crap. That's just a thing, right? Um, when it comes to D&D, my biggest thing is just learning the amount of spells. And with this Werewolf Apocalypse game, they're changing some of the lore that werewolf fans have grown accustomed to in regards to how where the origins of werewolves come from, and how they can be turned, and how that relates to family. It also wants me to learn a religion for the werewolf them. So the werewolf them learn a religion. So I have to learn a bag of stuff that doesn't exist, which is frustrating. But what I loved about the cyberpunk game, because I'm coming from cyberpunk, and I've learned that the system in comparison to other games, a lot of other games, I learned what crunchy is. HP
Yeah.
numbers are bigger in Cyberpunk. There are a lot more numbers than in D&D. And then there's armor, and then how certain weapons, like melee weapons, affect armor different from physical attack, fisticuffs different from range weapons. And what the developers wanted to do is really simulate the exciting hand-to-hand close quarter combat that's found in some of your favorite movies, where the camera zooms in and it's every turn you see the next player having to do something to try and get out of a combat situation. If you love combat, that's what Cyberpunk has been trying uh, to succeed with their system, the interlock system. They're using an interlock 2 system, which is supposed to be simpler than in the previous 2000 version. So for Red, when they came out with Red, they tried to simple it down a bit to not be so imposing to people. But I fell in love with it. I like the crunchy thing. I like the slow beats and the neck and neck combat. But I've also grown to appreciate the really quick and lethal one shot lethality of games like Call of Cthulhu, Cyberpunk again. Because if you walk into a game session without armor, then it can be erased by one rifle gun. Another one, the HP and the World of Darkness series of books. Their HP is also a lot less. But as we're nerding out about these different systems and different ways of playing, let me go ahead and ask you. And this is kind of a precursor to some questions we'll get into deeper in the How to GM podcast. When it comes to learning a game system and studying, to then prep and play, especially as a GM, because it sounds like you enjoy GMing game as much as you do playing them. Um,
Mhm.
what is your philosophy, or how do you approach picking up a new RPG you haven't played before, learning the system, and then talking to your friends about it? Was that journey like for you?
I mean, well, let's see. Usually, what when I'm starting a new system is just like getting buy-in. Like I'm like, approach stuff. Hey, would you be interested in playing a game about? I guess. Well, I usually play a lot of new systems. So like last one I tried was Kane. And basically there's a pitch. Basically, so it's kind of like JJK plus Chainsaw Man, and I mean, which is a fair description. Um, and they're like, okay, yeah, I could be into that. And I'm like, okay, cool. The main thing is like setting up time and blah blah blah. Send them over the book. But actually, one thing that you did mention a while I want to touch on is in D&D, my strategy is simply no, I don't learn the spells. I don't.
Ah, yeah. It's
It's too much. You can, what you should know is just generally how they work. Like, okay, I know that invisibility, if you stab somebody, the invisibility turns off. That's it. The details of it, no. Let your players learn that. As long as you generally have an idea, don't worry about learning it. You don't need to be an encyclopedia. Um, and also encourage your players to be good players, which is learning their stuff. So you can
yes.
trust them to be like, hey, I know how my spell works and it lasts for 1 minute. I'm like, okay, cool. Is a good thing to have at your table, which I appreciate as a GM and try to do when I'm a player. But yeah, that's my little 2 cents on, I guess, the difficulty of D&D. Because if anything, the biggest section of D&D is the spell list. It's long.
Ugh.
It's long, but you don't need to learn it. I don't think so, at least. Um, but yeah, any new system, I guess the main thing is the pitch, really, and getting people that are interested. That's the most difficult part, I guess. Once you've done that, um, yeah, they have to learn the system. But the thing is, usually you learn as you go along. I kind of just have a jump in and learn while playing kind of approach.
Right.
Give my players like, just read these 2 pages so you have the basic idea, and after that we'll learn the rest as we're going along.
So you'll approach your players first and ask them if they're interested in a game before you busy yourself to go read it yourself.
Well, no, I always read
Okay.
the book first. So
Okay. Okay.
I've read scores of rulebook systems. I can't even tell you how many. I've read a lot of them, and some of them I'm like, okay, that's all right, but I'm not interested in running it. And some of them I'm like, oh yeah, I'm definitely running this. So when I hit that, I'm definitely running this one system. That's the one when I'll go on to pitching it to people. But
Ladies
yeah,
and
I do need to vet the system. Like, okay, this is actually a good game. It's not just pretty, or it's not just
mm,
interesting on the surface. It's actually a good game. That's my first step.
that's cool. Ladies and gentlemen, this is why I invited this mongoose known as Alistair to come on this podcast. When I met him in one of our first outdoor events in January, we got to talk to him, and I learned very quickly that he is an RPG fan, and as you can hear, has read quite a lot of them. I've in the community, both locally and overseas. I've struggled to find players who play anything more than one, in particular that one RPG. It's because I didn't when I started. I had no intention of playing Dungeons and Dragons. I only wanted to play Cyberpunk and get other people to try it. But I found a lot of people who only play Dungeons and Dragons, and I couldn't talk to them about anything else other than Dungeons and Dragons. They had very little interest in having a conversation about any other game other than Dungeons and Dragons. It was very refreshing, Alistair, to meet you and to learn that you're interested in these type of games, and I've actually taken the time to look at others, which is why I invited you specifically to come on me, come and join me with this podcast here so we can nerd out about all this stuff. And to touch on your suggestion as to how to play Dungeons and Dragons, you're not the only person that's told me that, and it does make sense. And I agree with you wholeheartedly. I included it as a tip in our last podcast before the second podcast, How to Play RPGs. I encourage the players to at least, at the very least, they don't have to learn the whole book. That's not their job. Just learn how to play your character.
Yep.
Know your character's backstory. Knows what's in your character's back pocket. Know your character's ability and how those abilities work in the game system. So that if you're in a situation and you want to know what are you going to do with the situation, there's a gun in your face. Do you have an ability in your back pocket to get out of this, and how? And you describe that to the GM. And yeah, we can have fun and play thereafter. But as Alistair also said, don't be discouraged by having to learn everything in the book before you play. Learning enough to get started with a bunch of friends and figuring it out together is fun. Not all of the burden has to be on the DM itself, him or herself. Everybody can learn together how to play and spend time going through the system and figure out if you guys like the game.
Definitely, I've had systems where, like, midway through a session, we're like, "Wait, oh, we've been playing this wrong." So that it happens. So yeah, so I would go, "Oh, we're supposed to roll that." Okay, cool. Yeah, so it's not a test. It's not a test. That's the main part.
Mm. So, and all right, this brings up another interesting question. Listening to your journey playing these games and how you play with, how you read through them yourself and play with friends, and the experience that you have after playing the games, how do you then feel about new RPG game releases and immediately within the week there's 7 videos reviewing the book for the RPG that just came out? That's not a week old yet.
I mean, well, the thing about RPG is that, I mean, once you read the book, then you kind of know the system. So I'm not surprised at the speed at which reviewers will be like, "Hey, this is good, that's not great. I don't like this system." And hopefully, if these are seasoned reviewers, they're also pretty familiar with just, I guess, games on a whole. So as a result, yeah, sure, I'm not surprised that people get these reviews out quickly, because at this point, if a new RPG comes out, I'll read it pretty quickly. At first skim, and then after that, kind of go in depth. Really shouldn't take me that long, even if unless it's thousands of pages long. I'll read it quickly. So yeah, I can see it happening, especially also with the need to get out content quickly is in this fast-paced 2025. People want their videos out before the next guy, so I get it.
I get that, but I still struggle I don't know. First off, I don't read as fast as everyone. I know that I'm a slow reader. I love reading, but I take my time with it, just like I eating. If I like a piece of food, I'm gonna take my time with it. I'm gonna read through something. I'm gonna see a beat. It's gonna marinate on me a bit. And then it's just the experience. Like after, I mean, yeah, just like I described with reading Artillery and Cyberpunk 2020, the latest version of that game, Cyberpunk by Artel Sorian. The last version was 2020. I read the book and I absolutely fell in love with the game. Just from reading the book, I was pumped and ready to create a character and jump into this thing because it's excited me just from reading the book. But because I know I have a bias in regards to the kind of genres I'll spend the time and read, I like my French fantasies that are close to the world I know and give me enough fantasy to take me to put me in a situation where that is unlike my own. But when I find myself learning a bag of make-believe names, make-believe worlds, make-believe abilities, make-believe elements, make-believe religions, sometimes my brain kind of spins around, just spending so much time looking at the world the writer wants to build, be it a RPG game like we're talking about now, or another medium like a novel or a movie. Like I know that I fear spending too much time learning about something completely new that somebody wants to create, as opposed to just telling a story. But I've known some great stories to come from those painstaking acts of world building, and I know that I can see myself cringing when I read certain books that go into a lot of make believe stuff. But I also know that
Well,
if I give it time and
yeah.
give it a try and play in the world that they want me to play in, I can and do in turn have fun. I had my cringes and my apprehensions of playing Dungeons and Dragons. I've told people over and over again, if all there was Dungeons and Dragons, I would have never tried RPGs. I've played Dungeons and Dragons and I get it. It is a fun system and I've been having fun DMing and playing with others. But I wouldn't have done that if I stuck with my biases and not given these deep lore systems and storytelling a try. So when I see some of these RPGs reviewers, I look into the catalog of games that they usually play on their stuff, and the few times that they take to look into another RPG. I mean, is it so far-fetched to assume that maybe they don't want to bother learning a new system and they just want to stick to the demon they know instead of
Oh,
bothering to learn a new system? They'll just stay.
it is work. Definitely, definitely, it is work. So I get people, might not want to it, and it's reading, which not everybody likes reading. Um, but I would say that yeah, there's definitely a lot that can be missed if you don't try it out. It's just like anything else in life, food shows, going out, whatever. If you don't try it, you won't find out if you like it or not. So that's my main thing. But for you in particular, I guess what it sounds like is some of the books have a lot of lore, so a lot of background information, which is fine. It's nice, but it can be a lot. Kind of just like reading a book. If there's a lot of lore, for me, what I definitely gravitate towards all the time is like the mechanics, which is like how the game works. So a game that might be mechanically very similar to D&D, I might not be as interested because I'm like, okay, this is very much like D&D. But a lot of
Right.
the other games that I like Triangle Agency or Heart, they are mechanically very different from D&D. They just play differently. Just though Uno and Monopoly are just different games. Um, so for me, that's what I usually go for when I'm like checking the system. Because the thing about lore or setting or even the religions, you can take all of those out. But as far as the mechanics, that part is like the engine. It's the engine basically. That part is really optional, and that's the main draw for me, and in any system. Because
Uh,
let's see, me and you have played Everyone is John, for example, and it's a different mechanic from D&D. It's not like D&D at all, really.
no.
And
Everybody's one
that's
character.
what right. So everybody's one character. There's only one dice, and it's a competitive game, which is not usually the case for a lot of RPGs. So that's what I like about it. It's very different, and it is also different and fun. So those are the two things I need to like. Two things to check off where I'm like, yeah, I want to play this system.
Game system like games like Everyone is John is amazing, and I fell in love with it the moment you introduced it to us that day. And I see its place. I'd love to be with a group of friends sitting down with a bunch of drinks and pull that out the table and say, "Yo, let's just run Everybody's John." It's simple enough to teach in a couple of minutes and get started in a game session and have a bag of laughs before the
Yep.
game session is done.
Certainly more on the comedic side of things. For sure, for sure.
Yeah, diffusing the palm, chasing down that tank. I'm not gonna forget that game session. That's wild.
I described everyone is those, I guess if you've watched some other shows, Moon Knight, but played by
Yes.
Jim Carrey. So it's not a serious Moon Knight. It's definitely Jim Carrey in that Moon Knight costume.
Ah,
Uh, so yeah, if any of those mean anything to you, well, but yeah, that's what everyone is. John is like very simple. Love it.
it, the fun cat done. When it was described to me, when you guys described it to me, and we actually played it, the movie that actually came to my mind instantly was Being John Malkovich.
Ah, okay, okay.
That movie came to me when I thought about it. What was it? That's that room. That's all the characters in the movie crawled into, and they were just John Malkovich that whole time. It was wild. Um, so yeah, everyone's John. It's a lot more fast paced than that movie, as opposed where
Yeah,
everyone
that's
would
true.
sit in
Yes.
John Malkovich for a beat, and then another person takes their turn. No, everyone's John. Everybody's turn changes what John does in his situation. Oh my god, it was so much fun. Nebula played it at Anime Confest. You guys will,
Ah, okay.
listeners, if you want to find out about Jamaican RPG enthusiasts who are into crafting, Nebula Dice, you can find her on Instagram. She actually makes D&D dice. They're as beautiful as the nebulas you can find in the solar system. I went and I had to get myself a set from her. You've played with
There.
Nebula a couple of times,
Well,
different
those
areas.
are definitely luxury dice, though. I will say. So, for, especially if you're new to the hobby, you might just want to get regular dice. I'm not trying to like cut into devil
Jeez.
sales. I know them, but I'm just telling people that these are luxury dice. So these are fancy high end. But yes, if it's your first dice set, yeah, you can get one off Amazon. But maybe for your second set, yeah, give them a call.
Let me tell you guys, like, once you get into the dice thing, Alistair is telling you about that first dice set. He knows what he means when he says first dice set. You'll get that set of dice, and you'll see all the other options, and you think, that color looks good. I don't know how many sets of dice I have, but I did go through a dice binge after a while. It's a thing. They're just also damn pretty. I still see pretty dice. Amazon shopping list has a couple of stuff shelved and put away. You know, if I have a list on me, there's some sparkly metallic studded, all kinds of dice. Like the dice options are gnarly. They're absolutely
Yep.
crazy. But no, I'm a proud owner of a set of Nebula dice. I'm totally down for supporting local business in the
Right.
genre. It'd be cool to see people making a dollar out. So things I like to do. Um,
Yep. Yep.
I was very excited to see that somebody like Nebula existed out here. Uh,
Let's see. Um. But yeah, let me pop on some other games that I've played.
Let me go and I was gonna run into this list real quick. We all right. We spoke about horror already. There's a series of games by right now the license belongs to Renegade Game Studios, but originally it was White Wolf, and they created a series of games that are built in the World of Darkness universe. You guys heard me talking about Werewolf the Apocalypse. That is a part of the World of Darkness universe, and they use the Storyteller system, which predominantly uses just D10s. You guys might have heard us talking about D this and D that a little earlier. I think I've explained what dice are, but everybody knows six-sided dice 1 to 6. The Triangle Agency that Alistair mentioned a while ago used four-sided dice, which was found hilarious.
Or right.
That's four sides. D10s are what Werewolf the Apocalypse, but also Vampire the Masquerade, another very
Right. I
popular
have played. I
vampire
have played it.
game. Did you play the 5th edition or the original 20th anniversary?
No, I played the whatever the most recent one is. I don't
5th
know
edition. That's 5th edition.
Okay, yeah, yeah. I have played, and as a player, we played a vampire game set in Jamaica actually, which was very interesting.
You're a
Um,
vampire. Watch them, murderer. Sorry. Go ahead.
it was good. The book. My only thing is the book's a little hard to read, but it's very pretty.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Good. I'm glad you said that because I was struggling with it. I bought the book for my sister because she, as much as I love werewolves, she's always loved vampires. She's watched Vampire Diaries. She's watched True Blood. I think she's watched Vampire Diaries a couple of times. And anytime she see any cast member somewhere else, she coos. So I always knew that she liked vampires. So as soon as I saw the game existed and how popular it was, and the book looked pretty. The art in it looks amazing.
Right.
The community looks big. So I went and got a copy for her. But I'm not a vampire fan per se. And glorified zombies and the price to pay to become that, including losing the sun. I don't know. No thanks. So absolutely not. But I tried to read the lore because of how much the book inspired. For those of you who love the Underworld series of movies, the producers got in trouble with White Wolf Games for a lot of the concepts that were taken from the RPG itself, Vampire the Masquerade. Though some of you might be familiar with the video games, but just like Cyberpunk, it is based off of these tabletop RPGs. Vampire the Masquerade is easily one of the most famous RPGs in the World of Darkness series of games. Funny story, I told you I got Werewolf Apocalypse for myself, Vampire the Masquerade for myself.
Right.
I have another sibling who was trying to get into this RPG, and I asked him, dude, what do you say, vampires or werewolves? To see which one he chose. If you were locked in a room with a vampire or werewolf and one of them was going to turn you, what would you do? This dude told me, I hate the both of them. I try and fight them and kill them. I was like, oh, you're a hunter. So here, in the World of Darkness series of games, they also have a game called Hunter the Reckoning, where you can play as a human hunter of the supernatural forces that are threatening humankind. So you can play with human protagonists against these other creatures in the World of Darkness universe. So they currently have 3 5th edition games out. The 20th anniversary editions, which are older editions from the original White Wolf producers, include a game where you play mages as protagonists. There's one where you play ghosts as protagonists. I think that one's called Wraith. And then there's also demons and mummies, all kinds of different other creatures you can play as protagonists. But Vampire the Masquerade was easily the most famous and successful out of all of them. I'm here taking my time, about to give Werewolf the Apocalypse a try. And yeah, I have been struggling with the learning religion thing. What? Ugh. But no, reading Vampire the Masquerade book was a chore. Learning my enemy was a chore. I read it so that I could know better how to what they expected of the vampire classes in games like Hunter the Reckoning, and they are a somewhat prime antagonist for the werewolves in Werewolf the Apocalypse. So I've been reading the 3 of them. So I'm going through Werewolf the Apocalypse now. I've gone through most of Vampire. I stopped just around the storytellers, aka the GM section. I don't think I'm going to be GMing that game, but I just wanted to know. And yeah, it was a rough read. I agree with you. It was kind of all over the place going through it.
It's how they organize the book, I think, was the difficulty, and of course it's a skill. Being able to make a book that is coherent, easy to read, looks good. People have different levels of success in their bookmaking. Of course, the ones with money and legacy are generally better at it than the newer ones, but there are some really good new indie games with fresh ideas and really good page design, easy to read. So yeah, that's why I guess it's just up to you to try out new things and I guess listen to other reviewers. Sure, who can maybe clue you in on maybe this one, maybe that one. You might like this if you like that, etc., etc. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's right, guys. Don't get stuck on the one game. If you pick up a game and you don't like what you read, don't let that be your one and only view on what RPGs are like. Right? If you try one sushi restaurant and it sucks, that one sushi restaurant is not all sushi restaurants.
That's true.
Uh, keep at it until you find something you like. There's always something that bothered me with food, especially again a food reference. If there's a dish that you've always wanted to try, and your first time trying it is you cooking and it's not good, please don't blame the food. There's a lot of different variables that could have led to why that dish was not
Yeah.
satisfactory. I'd implore you to give it a try. Try with somebody else, or try another version of it, or try it a different way. Don't let
Yep.
your one try be your only try, especially if it's bad.
Yep.
Um,
Good. I mean, good advice for life, I suppose. Yeah.
um, I also like the idea. I don't want to discourage anyone, and this brings me back to the Lord of the Rings Middle Earth thing. If you only want to play as an elf in Middle Earth, that's the only thing you're gonna be doing. You can't do that till that kingdom come. Anytime you want to pick up an RPG, this is the only kind of RPG you want to play. Then I don't know. I know I'm like that with MMOs, so I thought I was gonna be like that with RPGs, but I got myself in this other journey. Um, you, Alistair, are the latest winner of a raffle in the JRPGN's last anniversary raffle for 2025. Congrats!
Thank you.
Um,
First time I've won it a raffle out. That's very happy. Yes.
I and as I mentioned in the last podcast, then we have two giveaways going on. One from raffle for Game Masters in International Game Masters Day, where locals and Jamaicans in the diaspora can enter a raffle as GMs, and their names will be pulled out, and they can win an RPG book. Alistair went and won for the JRPGN anniversary, which is held every year after the 26th of June. You want to tell us about the game you chose to have delivered to you?
Yeah. Well, as you know, I have a couple books already, and I of course have D&D. So when I won the raffle, I was like, okay, which book am I gonna pick? So the book I picked is actually my second system that I've ever played, and it is a mech system. It's called Lancer. I think it's been out for a couple years now. Got very good success. Yeah, I quite loved Lancer. It, as I said, was my second system, and the second system's always a little difficult. So I was coming from D&D, and what happened was, well, I used to play D&D at my house, and what happened is COVID happened. So for safety, we were no longer congregating in my house, so we had to play online, and we end up switching to Lance because like, okay, I'm not personally actually a mech fan. I'm never into Gundams, never into Macross, but I love the system. The reason I love the system is that it has what's a little mechanical overcharge. Basically, you have your mech and you can kind of push it to the limit to do extra stuff on your turns. You need to shoot that guy, get over there, hit him with your laser beam, whatever you want. You can heat up your mech, which is a little dangerous, but it made the players so much more interested in what was going on. And on top of that, there's a free tool online which is called CompCon, but you can use that to basically build your mech. Because as you can imagine, there's a lot of parts, and because there's a lot of parts, the online system makes it so much easier. Just move things around, shift, 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 and it'll tell you, yeah, you're good to go. So yeah, that's why I picked Lancer. Great game. Been playing it for a while. Works great, especially online, using Roll20 as, of course, as the table. But yeah, fun, pretty crunchy system actually. But still not. I mean, yeah, it is pretty crunchy. That's my 2 cents on Lancer. But yeah, definitely one of my S tier games, top of the line.
You caught me off guard when you said you weren't a mech fan. What?
I'm not.
Explain yourself, sir. What's there not to like? It's a freaking giant robot you can walk around as an extra, 20
So,
odd layers of you around you. Big
so
walking
I think
tank? What
I
happened?
think I like mechs as in the actual metallic thing, but a
Uh-huh.
lot of mech shows, particularly like for example Gundam. Gundam is a lot more about the drama and the politics, which is interesting. I I I respect them for, it, but it's not really so much about the mix. Actually, Gundam
Mm-hmm.
is like really about the politics, about war, etc., and all that is very cool. But why the reason why I like Lancer, Lancer is a little bit more focused on action. You can of course make it about politics, like any other, or
Mm-hmm.
you can make it about
Romance.
um,
That other
I
girl.
guess
Becky with the good hair.
you could make it a romance if you wanted to, but it's definitely about the combat of it. It is an action focused game, and my players like that, especially online where you doing stuff. And in terms of its narrative system, it's pretty robust too as well. It has a pretty strong separation between okay, this is narrative mode and this is combat. If there's combat, you're in combat. If you're in narrative mode, it's a little bit more freeform, which I appreciate. But yeah,
Okay,
answer top game for me. In my 10 out of 10.
that's awesome. Yeah, but that makes more sense. You don't have issues with mech. You just have issue with how mechs have been portrayed in the mediums, and you haven't
Right.
found one that
Right.
hits you the right way. That makes more sense. Okay.
Yeah, man,
Um,
that's pretty correct.
okay.
I'd say.
Um, and yeah, I'm a huge mech fan. I was actually looking at a game developed by Artis Lauren, because I became a fan of their Suiza game. I started looking in their catalog, and I found Mechaton, a second edition, but it hasn't had a new edition for a minute. But
Oh,
Lancer
okay.
came up a lot, and I'm finding a lot of people. I think you were the first person that spoke to me about Lancer, and then looking into it, the community is huge, which is always a good sign in regards to like a new person looking for somebody to go and find help. The size of the community, I always consider that a plus for people that are looking into a game system. Um, which is not to say don't try a game if they don't not pick up a game because the community is small. Some of these games are just young or not as popular. But having a large community is a plus. It gives room for homebrews. It gives rooms for assets, project sharing, maps, art, and people to play. Something that interests me with your story that I didn't pick up the first couple times you told me about this journey playing Lancer. Your first time playing was a live game with people in a room over in China at university, and then you came home and you started playing Dungeons and Dragons with friends at each other's home. Again, live games, real dice, real table.
Yeah, man. So that was my table.
Uh,
So we were playing in person for about 2 years or so until COVID happened. Yeah.
and so the first time you played online was when COVID happened.
Yeah.
Before
So
that, you
yeah,
didn't.
first time would have been Lancer online. I actually
Uh,
didn't end up playing D&D online until much later.
yeah, yeah.
Uh,
That's interesting. All of my first times were online, and I was rather jealous of people I would listen to in other places, and they would either say they're going off to a friend's house to go and play the game live somewhere or play some other thing somewhere, or they're going to a convention. And that's what got me actually hunting for locals that would play Cyberpunk, because I actually knew of another RPG player, but that person who plays RPGs had zero interest in the cyberpunk theme of games. Even with an RPG that he was playing that had the cyberpunk elements in the system that you could play, he omitted it out because he didn't want to play with none of that. I was like,
ah,
what, dude? That's a family. It hurt. So I went. I came out to go and search for people locally who would play. Trying to convince family to play, that was taking a long time, so I really want to try and find people who are actually playing so I could jump into a live game. And that's when I met most of you guys. It was really, really exciting to see that there's enough players in the island, and a lot of people who are interested or have seen RPGs for the first time coming out to some of the events and fallen in love with it just as quickly as we have. They played it the one time and they liked it. There's a player in the community who won one of the GM raffles. The only game she's ever played was Cyberpunk, and she's been playing it all the live long day. Can't talk to her about nothing else. But again, I was that young too. Give her a couple.
Sure.
So maybe she'll pick up something else. But no, that is interesting. So your first time was actually in person, and then you got to play online. So where does that put you now, experiencing both pros and cons, playing with friends in live sessions, strangers in live sessions, versus playing online? What's your pros and cons and tips for listeners?
Well, I mean, I suppose personally, I do prefer playing in person. Mostly because it's a little easier for as a GM to like physically see people in terms of like gauging how things are going, etc., etc. And of course, as far as acting, I can use my body to convey things as opposed to just my voice. So it does allow me some more flexibility to communicate to my players. Because I mean, I can't make a funny face over Discord. You can't see my face unless you're using video, which sure
Yeah.
that can work. But when you're in person, the social aspect is definitely more is heightened, which I think is important and fun. For online now, of course, the main draw is that you don't have to be in the same place. So a lot of people that play online, some of them in Canada, some in the US, they're abroad, or they're in Montego Bay or whatever. They're far. So that's the main thing. Of course, but some games actually work better online. So Lancer definitely works pretty well online. Having computers nearby to check the companion tool, it worked really well. So not that you can't do it with pen and paper, but I think it depends on the game. But if I had to pick one, I would probably pick in person if I had to pick one.
Shout out to the set of classmates you had out there that may listen to this sometime there that played with you 8 years ago. You guys have given birth to a very interesting character that we have here on the podcast talking to. Hope y'all good whichever part you're there. We're here kicking it. And yeah, shout out to that party that played with me in 2020. What was it, Halloween? I had fun, and I apologize for the whole bunch of madness I was noobish.
I mean, everybody's a first player at
Dude,
some
I was
point.
super excited. I role played. I took the role play super seriously. I was like all in my character. I went and flicked through the list that we were talking a while ago. And I just came upon a game by Eden Studios that came out in 2005. Army of Darkness. I'm not deliberately picking out a bag of horror games here. I know I'm a horror fan. I just chuckled when I saw this. If anyone out there ever wants to pick up an RPG and play that movie Army of Darkness, there's a role playing game here for you to pick up and try. Uh,
Okay.
um, but yeah, playing online, it's extremely convenient. I quickly learned what a VTT was, a virtual tabletop. These are platforms online where players and GMs can share characters and dice rolls, and the GMs can put up digital maps and place digital icons for you to control. Basically, the stuff that you would need at a table to play. Um, but yeah, let's dive into your desire, your preference for playing live. What are your essentials outside of dice that you need to have a good time? Basic and then full blown. Everything you need.
Hmm. I mean, well, really and truly, yeah, the basics are really the base. I need me, I need my players, and I think they need a character sheet. Maybe I think that's it really. If I need to roll dice, I can roll it online on my phone or whatever. But the main thing is enough space, a comfortable space. There you go. That's my answer. The space is important. It must be comfortable, enough space, quiet enough. That's my main thing. Everything else I can probably actually like work out a way to get it to work. But yeah, the space is the most important part. So when I was DMing at my house, it was safe. Obviously, it's my house. I'm comfortable there, and that was very important for me as a new DM at the time to be comfortable.
Okay.
Well,
I noticed you didn't mention maps or miniatures, so those aren't
no,
necessarily essentials when playing at
no,
your
I mean,
tables.
because you can do theater of the mind. Maps certainly help. But yeah, you can definitely do theater of the mind where you're just like, okay, you're roughly 10 feet away from the dragon. What do you want to do? And work with that. Because once again, minis cost money or you have to go find them. Of course, people use stand ins for when they don't have minis. But if you don't have it, that's okay. You can get them later, certainly. So yeah, definitely not an essential for me. It's I'd put minis as luxury. Map is a little bit more useful, um, but yeah, I think the main thing is the space to be in. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. For those of you who are tuning in, and this is your first episode, Theater of the Mind, as Tyr mentioned, is actually my favorite way to play, and the way I've been playing primarily for a minute. It was how I was introduced to the game originally. Basically, all it is, it's the at the heart of soul of the game. Once you have the pen and paper, like he described, where the players will write down their characters' information, their inventory, a little bit about their backstory and their abilities. Um, the rest of the game are played within the conversations between the players and the GM. They talk to each other. The GM will describe the world verbally. He or she will describe the situation the characters in. They will describe where non-playable characters are. So it's up to you, the players, to listen to the world that is being presented by the GM. And in regards to playing and interacting in this world, you then in turn converse and tell them what you want to do in this world. And so, just like reading a book, once you read a book, the book tells you what is happening in this story. There is no projector that shoots out of the book and plays a movie on the screen across from you. No, you read in the words and it tells you what's happening in the world, and that is the idea behind theater of the mind. It's a conversation where people can play. I like it a lot because it doesn't require as many. If you, that's one of the same things I run into when playing with virtual tabletops and miniatures. If you have a set of maps and miniatures for the where the situation starts and the NPCs that you have presented there, but then your player characters decide to go off that map, or they want to talk to a different set of NPCs with miniatures you don't have. You'll run into a situation where you don't have the miniatures or the map for the specific place that they want to go or people they want to talk to. Theater of the Mind honestly frees up a lot of that resource worry. I mean, if you have the all the maps you need and all the miniatures you need, and I've seen rooms like that. I've seen dungeon masters who've been playing from in the 70s, and they have just a room filled with maps, walls filled with miniatures of all kinds of creatures and all kinds of shapes and sizes and all kinds of situations. I'm not that guy. Theater of the Mind. If you're gonna tell me you're gonna uppercut my guy and he's gonna land in the moon across from here, all right, that's totally what happened. I don't need to go and find a moon prop next to the moon
Right.
we're
I
playing
mean,
on.
I think the strongest skill for any DM, especially, and it comes with time, is the ability to improvise.
Uh,
Yeah. So while yep, minis are definitely useful, they're good, but
mhm,
you don't have to rely on them.
mhm.
They're nice, but the main thing is just kind of roll with the punches with your players.
Yeah, man.
So that's my that's my stance on minis. They're really nice. Love them, but a luxury, a luxury.
I agree. Um, One of the main reasons that I've absolutely fallen in love with RPGs, and I've been kicking myself in the shin as to why I didn't find this thing earlier. Like Alistair, I am a huge video game fan. I've been playing them ever since the Atari days. I'm showing my age a bit. The Atari was my family's first system. Lies. That was my generation's first system. Some of my elders, they've been playing games from way before that, with freaking Pong, and I got a Pac-Man veteran in my family. Shout out to my aunt Debs.
Okay.
When she was a kid, the Pac-Man machine was out in, I think it was Pizza Delight in the plaza that's now known as Tropical Plaza. Whenever she went down there with family, apparently she would go there and just put her coins in that machine, and she zeroed Pac-Man.
Oh,
She
nice.
zeroed it, and she was very distraught. And this is why this is the one and only video game she's ever played. She's never played any other video game because of this. She zeroed Pac-Man. She maxed out the levels and got all the points, and at the end of that, the game reset to the first level.
Oh, huh.
That was all that happened. Alright, I don't
Huh.
know. No, I don't know if you guys know or understand what it takes to zero the classic Pac-Man game. That's insane. Sit down there and go through all those levels and keep fighting those ghosts and eating those pebbles until the game's zeroed. Yeah, she did that, and the programs did not program an ending for the zero, so they just reset the game on her. So she's never played another video game ever since.
Certainly a
Yes.
long time ago. So yeah, they
I
probably didn't
know.
figure.
But this was back in her time. She's up in her age now. That was when she was a little girl. So that's what happened to her, the first game. And with video games, I've played a lot of amazing video games that bring a lot of joy to my person. And we spoke about a couple of them that have been inspired by these RPGs, or have been inspired some RPGs that have come out today. Um, but with video games, you can do only as much as a program as programming those things.
Right, right.
So for those of you game breakers that like to try to find a teeth-in way to beat the boss that the game doesn't allow you to do, um, or if you want to go off a map or just not take up a mission because you really think it's dumb and your protagonist is just stupidly saying yes to a bag of things you would not say yes to if it was you in the situation. This genre of games, RPG, it's so much fun when the decisions are down to the game master and the player, right? The player tells the game master, "Yo, I don't want to pick up this mission from this NPC. It sounds fishy. With the information he's given me, I'd much rather go to the other client and see what they have to say." The GM now has a situation where the story that they intended to tell is being changed by the player character's decision. And we can follow this narrative and see where it goes. And this is
Yep.
extremely exciting for GMs.
Yep.
Um,
Flexibility.
when I was learning Cyberpunk 2020 for the first time, as you know, with a couple of the games that you've read, at the end of the book, that is the section of the book that is usually designated to the GMs, where they can learn about how to run the game as a GMs, and you're given sample scenarios to run for your players, for first-time GMs. Cyberpunk was no exception, and it had a story set where Your antagonist for the sample game was a brilliant jeweler that financed his own cybernetic implants up the wahoo and completely erased his own humanity and made himself into basically a freaking T-1000, right?
Mm.
And your NPC set of NPCs that you were given in the game to play were in different places to give you a narration how to introduce the characters into the world, and then you were given an NPC to protect. Right, so for those of you Terminator fans, you were given a Sarah Connor character,
Okay.
right? And you're that dude, and you and your friends are that dude, and this freaking T-1000 is coming after you, and that's just basically the scenario setup. When I was learning to GM generally, I played that sample game only. Alright, this is my first time playing RPGs. I didn't know what I was doing, and I loved this scenario as it was presented, and I tried it. I sucked that first time. It sucked, but I had fun. My players had fun. I laughed at how stupid I was. But I tried the same scenario again, and again, and again, and again, and again, and again. I ran that scenario. I don't know how many times I ran that one scenario when I was learning. Not one session, not one of them was the same. Same
Yep.
antagonist, same NPC introductions, and same what's the name of that term for that freaking person? Ah,
Mm.
no,
What?
the NPC in video games that you have to protect and escort. The escort.
Oh, right.
You're
Right.
right.
Okay.
Yeah. So you have your antagonist and you have your escort, right? Dude, all of those games were extremely memorable and loads of fun, and half the fun was just watching what these players would do given the situations. I've seen players abandon their NPC children. I've seen players blast holes in walls that I completely forgot. Of course, you can throw. I mean, they asked me what happened. Can I use this grenade and blow a hole in this wall and go downstairs? I was like, of course you can. I can't say no to that. Go ahead, roll the dice.
Makes
And
sense. Makes sense.
it's so much fun as a GM watching that. That's why I mentioned in the last episode not to worry about GMs. A good GM knows how to have fun, especially when they understand the system and they in turn can watch players in worlds that they create run amok. It's not been boring. It hasn't been boring. When I'm
That's good.
helping new players or watching veterans rip holes in your game session, it's always fun. It's been fun.
Alright, so let's see. Hmm.
But yes, we just went on a tangent about theater of the mind a while ago. Um, when you jumped into the hobby, Alistair, how much of the lexicon and lingo in the genre gave you a headache? What are some basics that players and new people will come into the genre hearing and need to understand? What was your experience like? What did you wish you knew?
Let's see. I think some of there's always going to be games with more or less vocab. Some of the more difficult vocab to learn is probably like things that aren't immediately intuitive. So like some things are pretty easy. Like if a game has health points, even if you've
Yeah,
never played a game where you figure out that probably you would like more health points than
yeah.
less because you want the health. Right.
Enhancing
But
your health.
but in terms of stuff like maybe checks, like in D&D they have checks, skill checks, which is like, okay, I would like to do this thing and I need to roll dice to see if it works or not. It's probably some of this stuff that new players are like, okay, cool. Which one should I do? Maybe stuff like armor class being like, all right, so I'd like to not get hit. I'm like, okay, so we need to check and see if you beat this number, you get hit. If you get less than this number, you don't get hit, etc., etc. So I think that might be some of the more difficult parts of the learning process. But as I said, the more times you read stuff in terms of different RPGs definitely makes it easier. Because after a while, like, oh, that's a check. Oh, this is what they call armor in this game. It's called um, padding. Sure, no problem. Whatever. It's that part's very interchangeable. So yeah, main thing probably checks and skills in any game might be the most difficult part.
Yeah. Let's see. I'm trying to think. Yeah, that's a good one. I'm trying to think of some of the most common things people hear in a game and across the board. Uh, yeah, roll fear check. Um, what else is there?
Well, for new
Death
players as well,
saves.
it's like, what can I do? Right, save, checks and saves.
Yeah.
What can I do on my turn is probably
Mm,
one of the biggest questions. Like, okay, or do I have moves? Explain it to people. Yeah, you can do whatever you like. Well, within reason, but you can do whatever you like is one of the harder obstacles to get over. But yeah, people generally get it. I don't think of anybody that just completely didn't get it after a while. But yeah.
yeah. I'm here thinking about it. I didn't remember struggling too badly. And most of the people that I ran into in the cyberpunk community were pretty helpful. Once you identify yourself as a noob, thankfully there's enough people out there that want the community to increase. So they generally more often than not are pretty kind towards new people and will help them play. I just advise you guys to be careful, especially when you're online playing with complete strangers. You figure out whether or not you're around somebody that wants to actually help you play, or if you want somebody that's just looking for a human cannon fodder. I've run into tables where I found a set of friends that want to play as protagonists, and everyone else that joins the game sessions are just fodder to fall into
Well,
pictures.
we hope that everybody gets to good tables.
Yeah,
That's
I've had a lot of
yeah.
good experiences, so I'm convinced that you have a good head on your shoulders and you can tell characters. I'm scrolling through this list because this is what the episode is supposed to be about. We're supposed to be nerding about stuff and just going through this list. Just random games. The same Eden Studios a while ago that had an Army of Darkness. They also have both of the Vampire Slayer up in here. And just below that, they start with Bullwinkle and Rocky. Introvert that and it's Rocky
Wow.
and Bullwinkle RPG, dude. 1988 by TSR
Okay.
Inc.
Well,
Ah.
as I said, there's definitely if there's a fandom of it, chances are there's an
Somebody's
RPG.
dad is out there. Somebody's out there with a dad and they want to play an RPG and they know the dad's only watched Rocky and Bullwinkle RPG. You can totally go up to the dad and say, "Hey, you want to play Rocky and Bullwinkle?" What even? Oh my god! What? Hang on. Let me see if I see a list of playable
Lots of other
characters.
stuff. Star Wars, Star Trek,
Oh yeah,
Doctor Who, as you said,
absolutely.
Buffy. And the chances are 9 times out of 10, if there's a series with a fandom,
Mhm,
that's
mhm.
you're probably going to have an RPG to go along with it. Yeah.
There's a saying we can play with. There's an RPG for that. There's a saying that's equivalent to that. I just can't think of it now. But Alistair is right. Especially if there's a huge community around a IP that you like, best believe there is a role playing set amongst that community who has either created their own professionally or has homebrewed a system to accommodate those type of games. And the list that Alistair just mentioned do have official RPGs released by companies. There's a Star Wars RPG. There's a Star Trek RPG for those of you who identify as Trekkies and not people from Star Wars. There is. I just scrolled past Babylon 5 a while ago.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, and sorry, I'm here looking at this Rocky and Bullwinkle RPG, trying to figure out what player characters can you choose from. But no, yeah, he's absolutely right. If there is a genre that you like, we were just talking about Lord of the Rings a little earlier. Best believe there is either an official RPG for it, a homebrew based off of another system, or a professionally made compendium by a company, or a group that has just homebrewed a system for your game. Freaking
I
Dune.
haven't. Yep.
The Dune
Yeah.
franchise reboot has brought a whole bunch of new people to the Dune RPG that's been out for a minute. I think it got a recent latest addition to the Dune RPG. That community has been bubbling since of late, especially because of the Dune hype.
As far as like IP games, I haven't actually played a lot of games from other fandoms. The only one I've played is the Borderlands RPG.
Right.
So yeah, not the first person shooter RPG with dice. That one's called Bunkers and Badasses, which was it was pretty fun.
Uh,
I liked it, players liked it, but it is hard to run as a dungeon master. Even as a veteran dungeon master, I will say that it is one of the more difficult things to run because what they're trying to do, I don't know if you played Borderlands, you know there's
yes.
lots of guns and
Yes.
shields and grenades, and it's all randomized, and they're trying to do that in the game itself, so that makes things a little difficult for the DM. But in terms of the system itself, yeah, it's very fun. They have a badass system where basically you can use points to do something really cool, and it only works if it's really cool. One of my players, I think he he shot a bazooka and like tied it to somebody else's collar so that they flew off into the distance. But then I was like, no, that's not badass enough. He's like, okay, fine, I'm gonna surf the rocket into the other thing while the guy. I'm like, yeah, okay, that sounds pretty
Okay.
cool. And that's at the point that it works. So it's definitely geared towards comedy. So as I said, you can you can make D&D do anything, but this is a game tailored for that kind
Right.
of silly action. So once again, try out the systems. You might
That,
like them.
that's wild. I've only played Borderlands 1 and 2. Um,
Uh,
did I play? No, I didn't play 3 because it was released on Epic Games and I refused to buy it off of Epic Games. It was just on Steam. Um,
I mean,
but yeah,
I don't give Epic much money, but I do like that Epic exists.
yeah,
Oh,
competition is good. The first time I heard
yeah.
about the bunkers and what was it called?
Bunkers and badasses. Bunkers
Bunkers
and
and
badasses.
Badasses. It was my
Yep.
brother that played with a cousin, and they knew that I was into the RPGs, and they went and found it. It's like, hey, yo, no, there's this Dungeons and Dragons Borderland mix in this game here, and that's how I actually heard about it.
Yep.
Um,
Yep.
but also, two things came to my mind when you spoke about the guns, lots of guns things. I was thinking about the quote from The Matrix, I need guns, lots of
Mm.
guns. A and B, coming from cyberpunk, separate apart from the cybernetics that you get in there is a myriad of gun options and weapon options, both implants, externals, and just ridiculous looking BFGs in that game. So I'm kind of used to systems with lots of guns. It's actually one of the things I like looking at when I'm looking at an RPG. When it comes to character creation and customization, another one of my absolutely favorite things about this genre. You heard us talking about the freedom that we have when it comes to decision making and world building and exploration that you can get to into this game. This genre of game is virtually limitless, right? If you're playing a Star Wars game with your friends and you want to go to a galaxy far, far away, ain't nothing stopping you. You got a ship, be on your way, right?
Yep.
But now I want to take a look into character creation. This is one of my
Okay.
things that I absolutely love about this genre, I think. And one of the first things I loved, as I mentioned from that first book that I picked up from Arthur Soren, um, the type of classes that you can pick, the kind of archetypes that they are, and with that system in particular, um, you could pick a medical professional and still weaponize him up to be a cybernetic ninja. Alright, so you weren't the rules in that system allowed you to have these archetypes where they have basic functionalities based on the archetype you pick, but you could still stat them up and equip them up to be just about any kind of build that you want. Right, the character design freedom is a lot of fun, and there's virtually nothing stopping you from completely changing your OC characters, facial features, skin pigment, hair color, eye color, based on the limitations of the game and what the GM agrees with. Character creation is virtually as limitless um, as the world building itself, and it's something I absolutely fell in love with. So when I pick up some of these games, one of the main things I look for is the things available for character creation, which include races, job classes, inventory, weapons, assets, and even backstory NPCs. Cyberpunk was also backstory heavy, where they had systems in there because they want to give the GM tools to actually grab some of these players by their family or their ex-girlfriend or their current girlfriend NPCs. So they have these random generators and allowed you to even create them yourself. You with your Tell me a little bit about your experience with character creation and where you fall between lots of options and light options.
Well, I think for me, I guess as a DM, it depends on your players. I've definitely had games where I'm like, okay, like I might have a system. I'm like, this is very heavy in terms of lots of options, and this might not be well suited to this player or that player. Um, but personally, as a player myself, I don't mind a lot of options as long as they're nicely interlinked. Like when I'm finished, I need to feel like I really made a build, and I didn't make a bunch of pointless decisions. Um, so for me, in terms of like crunchy games with a lot of moving parts, let's put it that way, Lancer and Icon are definitely up there. When I finished making my mech, I'm like, yeah, this is a wild machine. I know what it does. I know what it's good at. I know what it's bad at. And I'm happy about that. In combat, I'm like, yeah, I can see it working now, and I enjoy that. But I also like games where the character creation is pretty simple. Where, for example, like Heart doesn't take a long time to make a character. Triangle Agency doesn't take a long time to make a character. Of course, in terms of like cosmetics, like how you look and how you sound, that's of course fair game. But mechanically, those are two different games. Once again, you'll always go in on the cosmetics, your skin color here, what are the how you sound, accent, etc. I don't think there's any RPG that really limits you per se in that regard. But in terms of mechanics, yeah, as long as I'm like I see the fruits of my labor in the mechanical decisions.
Yeah, that's there.
Yep, yep.
Oh,
Can you hear me?
okay, no, yeah, yeah. Okay, I thought I dipped out a second. Well, no, yeah.
Now, so far, I've not played any games with like set pre-gens. There's one game that I am looking to run eventually, which is Eat the Reich, which is about you being vampires out to assassinate Hitler. And that one has pre-gens. There's no custom characters. There are like six or so vampires. You have to pick one, and they have different abilities. And you just play with that. I've yet to run it, but I have read it, and I'm like, yeah, this does sound interesting. It's on my things to play list. Yeah.
I was about to say I've heard of that before, but that's because this is the second time you're telling me about it. You are
Yeah,
the
man,
person that told me about
it
it.
is fairly new. I think it's the same people that made Blades in the Dark. It's also a good system, much more serious though. Blades in the Dark is pretty good. It's very Ocean's 11, Peaky Blinders, but with ghosts. So you are very much criminals going around a kind of Venice, London, steampunk aesthetic kind of place, trying to survive. Yeah, Blaze in the Dark is also really fun. In terms of mechanics, though, I think the main thing that drew me to Blaze in the Dark was the flashback mechanic. So, for you, those of you who've watched one of the Ocean's films, they're always saying, "Okay, we need to do this, we need to do this," but what always happens is usually a flashback to All right, so the locksmith guy, we're gonna make sure he has this beforehand. So Blaze in the Dark says, "Hey, don't worry about the bag of planning. Jump in, get in there, and you use the flashback mechanic to say how you overcame whatever obstacle. You can't do it infinitely. You can only
Hmm.
do it so many times. But yeah, it is useful to see how players trying like, okay, so there's a guard. What if I bribed him the day before, or what if I helped him out with his groceries and now me and him are cool. So you use that flashback mechanic and you keep the story moving forward. So Blaze in the Dark also up there. Maybe not in my S tier, but definitely my A tier of game.
It was one of the games that you spoke about a bit when I first met you with high praises, and most of the people that I've spoken about that have played it, most of almost everyone that I've looked into who's played it has enjoyed the game. It's been generally pretty well received as a good game, and I think again this might have been a conversation with you. Elements of the game was used to create another game, but not as successfully. I think this was a conversation. 90% is sure this was a conversation I had with you, and it might have been about a game that I mentioned a little earlier. A game that tried to copy.
Apocalypse. There's
Oh, was
Powered
it
by the
that?
Apocalypse. Right, Powered by the Apocalypse is like the
Okay.
base system. So
Right.
all the other
Oh, okay.
Powered by the Apocalypse games will be kind of similar to Blaze, but yes, Blaze
Okay.
is the
Okay.
origin.
I didn't know that. I was surprised when you told me that. No, that's wild. Um. Yeah. That's gnarly. My brain just fried a while ago. I was going through this list while talking to you, and I'm glad they brought up Blazes in the Dark. Again, and a really cool. You know, it actually came onto my mind when you were describing the ability to reverse time. The video game Prince of Persia from the early 2000s, The
Oh,
Sands of
well,
Time.
not
I
well,
know
not
that's a
quite
lot
as
shorter.
yeah, but yeah,
The ability you're talking about gets you to Guy Ritchie's movie style retrospectively. Oh, by the way, I totally handled that
definitely,
before. Don't worry
definitely
about it. Be
carry.
prepared. Yeah. But yeah, the sense of time was a lot more short bursts. Oh, drop down a pit. Let me just spam this button and pull my ass back out faster.
That was definitely more magic. That was definitely more magic than anything. Um, yeah,
Right.
yeah, man. Let me see. Actually, you had mentioned like character creation. One of the other games that I actually have a physical copy is Die, which is DIE, not as in death, as in
Okay.
a dice. And in terms of Session Zero, which I guess for new players, Session Zero is before you even start playing.
Hmm.
It's you know what's your character like, who do they know, etc., etc. Your backstory that has the best backstory creation system just built in by far, long shot. Gold
Die.
standard as far as making a not only just your character but a squad of people. So I know a lot of times in D&D, the you meet up in a tavern, which is fine, no problem. But a lot of time people spend time like getting to know their other squad members, which is good. But like that kind of has you jump in and you're already friends. You already have history. You already know each other, and you build off of that. Which 10 out of 10, definitely. That one is up there as I'd probably put in A or B tier. But Session Zero, Chef's kiss.
That 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 sounds amazing. I definitely want to look into it. It actually made me think of the other side of character creation. This system from the original Traveler game. Traveler is a old RPG game where you play in outer space. And
Okay.
from what I understand, the character creation um, it's actually the second place I've heard of, but it being old, where you could lose your character in character creation. They have this generator where you actually build your character, and there's a part of it where you put them through an academy where they may or may not survive, and if they don't, you just have to start over. And that's in
Okay.
character creation.
Oh damn. It's kind of rough.
Yeah, no, right? Um,
But it's an old game. It's
yeah,
old.
yeah.
Okay. Well, I think a lot of the older games,
They were rough.
some of them are old, and then you have what they call OSR, which is old school Renaissance. So this
Mm.
is a lot of the features of old school games is that yeah, they're pretty lethal, pretty deadly. Um, And usually, a lot of times, re-rolling a new character was quick. In fact,
Hmm.
to kind of
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah. It was basically up to dice.
compensate,
When right.
yeah, to compensate, you can make a new character in basically no time,
Uh-huh.
which I guess took a bit of the edge off. I played a few OSR games. Played Mortborg. We're supposed to be playing Mouse Ritter soon. And I played Into the Odd as well, which are all OSR games, which I didn't love them, right? But it's not because they're bad. I
Hmm.
just don't think they're for me or my
Hmm.
table. We're
Hmm.
like, okay, we see how this game is played, but yeah, we don't quite think it's the best suit for. But it might be good for you guys.
Hmm.
So don't don't knock it until you try it. Maybe enjoy lethality and just like running through characters, find different stuff very quickly. Which I think was probably one of the main things that yeah you can try out a bunch of different characters really quickly because might not last very long to be quite honest. So yeah, that's what came to mind when you mentioned people dying in the character creation.
Yeah, original traveler. Yo, dudes, Alistair is telling the truth, man. Like, and it's fine. Going through this list, I'm actually going to explain what it was that blew my mind a little earlier. It wasn't the reference to Prince of Persia Standard Time. There is a bunch of RPGs out here, people. You know the type of person you are. You know the kind of genre you and your friends are into that you get into. There is all kinds of teas, coffees, and mochas out there. You just find the blend that's right for you. You find what's right for you. We're going through this list here, and this when you told me that your code name was Mongoose, I actually thought because of how experienced you are with RPGs and the thing, I thought it was a playoff of the Mongoose Publishing, who's done games like Conan the Barbarian, and they
No,
also got their hands on the official license for Traveler, Mongoose Gaming. So it was actually two different games from the original writers and Mongoose Gaming. But they went and they have full rights to Traveler now. So there's a
okay,
Traveler edition for further Traveler Adventures and RPGs. That's through Mongoose Gaming. But no,
okay,
I'm going through this list, and I ran into a game here called the Confederate Rangers by
okay.
Solarway Games from 1989.
Oh,
Uh,
that's a long time ago. Yep.
uh, yeah, the Confederate Rangers is a near future science fiction system set in alternative America where the government is so corrupt that 13 southern states secede and form a new confederacy. The heroes are Confederate Rangers, high tech lawmen with old time values.
Ugh. Sounds like a yikes from me. I
Yo,
mean, I
dude,
guess once again, people
that
can make whatever they want, but yeah, I definitely wouldn't
Frenching.
be playing.
That's when I said my brain was exploded a little earlier and I diverted into the Prince of Persia shizzle. That's what I came across in this list. I just decided to talk about that. But it's here in this list. The people might be going through it and be like, what the hell? Yeah, there's not much of the information on this game here. I don't even see a cover art. I don't even think I need to. But yeah,
It's yeah,
it was.
probably skippable.
No, it's as dumb as it. No, there's not here. There's nothing here.
I mean, it's just like movies, really. I mean, always there's gonna be some weird movies that you.
What was that
Yep,
stupid
yep,
one?
yep.
Um,
That,
it's on the tip of my tongue. Home of the Brave or some crap like. I forgot the name of the movie. Whatever.
yeah.
Moving along. Um, there is a Street Fighter RPG. There's a Care Bears RPG. Um,
Okay.
and I saw a bunch of game review company on YouTube. They spent an episode taking a break from games, and they played a game called Crab Truckers, where you can play
Okay.
as crabs driving 16-wheel trucks across the country. And they made it look like a bag of ridiculous fun. And it was absolutely crazy. There's just way too many games. So many games. Oh, look, and here's the game Die you were just talking about.
Okay.
Yes.
There is
supposedly.
a comic. There's a comic that goes along with it. The comic came first. Um, if you're planning to be a player, don't read the comic because it will spoil a lot of stuff. But that is described as Goth Jumanji, and I'll leave it at that. But if you're maybe a plan to be the DM and you want to run it, yeah, sure, read the comic. I think you'll enjoy it. It'll provide a lot of, and it's a good comic. I plan to buy the comic eventually. Down the line, I'll probably get around to get my hands on a copy. But yeah,
Yeah, that's what interesting medium does. You get into one thing, you like it, and then that puts you on a hunt to find more about the thing that you just found that you like. This is just the nature of the thing. That's art. You find out that you're into something you never thought you'd be into, and then you go and find that there's a huge library for you to spend lots of time diving into movies, books, comics, art pieces. Um, yeah. Oh, Judge Dredd RPG. Let's go.
makes sense.
um, yeah, that's RPGs in a whole. Um,
Yep.
okay, we can easily talk on this topic for a minute. Uh,
That's true.
we could go on forever. I enjoy most of my conversations with you, Alistair, because we've been able to do this for me, which is why I invited you to come into this. I do thank you again, and again for the fourth time. This is the fourth time we're doing this, and I know we didn't cover everything. We didn't cover all the games on this list. We didn't talk about all
Well,
the games
yeah.
we've played. We didn't talk about all the games we like. We only touched on a few. Um, but the main goal, listeners, we were hoping that you would see just how vast the library is. Don't be afraid to dip your toe in and take a look around. You might find something you like, which a lot of people are playing, and you might something that is just for you and your friends. We also didn't touch into some of the solo RPGs that are out there. There's our
That's true.
games designed where you can pick up and you read through the book, and it teaches you how to go on your own adventure. The same. Oh, so I must retract a previous statement I made. That friend that I said that won the GM thing last time and she only plays Cyberpunk. That's not true. She has picked up a vampire solo RPG that she absolutely fell in love with, and she enjoyed her time with it, and she has been talking to me about it. Is that the tip of my tongue? I forgot about it. I have to bring it up again. Um, but she's also gone looking into. It got her looking into the World of Darkness series, Vampire the Masquerade. Um,
Okay.
there's couple RPGs that I think are very cute. I went and got my hands on two of them. One of them by Chris Spivey, that's the writer for um, Harlem Unbound and Haunted West, and he's also done a lot of work with Cyberpunk. He also wrote a RPG, Cthulhu Confidential, where you
Oh,
play as three separate detectives, I believe. And the way the game is designed, it's for just a GM and a player. Um, so I got my hands on that, and I plan to play that with the missus. She's also played Cyberpunk with us already, so she had fun with that. But yeah, there's so many kinds of games out there. I only wish I had time to go through. You want to run through a couple honorable mentions real quick? Honorable
okay.
mentions, got any?
Honorable mentions. Let's see. If you're more into superhero stuff, Mutants and Masterminds is probably one of the more popular ones. If you're into it, have read it, haven't played. But yeah, I guess other things that honorable mentions. Monster Hearts, which you've played.
Yes, I'm enjoying Monster Hearts. I am playing a werewolf, duh.
Yeah, is well. I mean, I guess you can explain Monster Hearts better than I can, but
Yes, Monster Hearts. It's a system where the game world you play as high schoolers who are monsters at heart, and they struggle through being adolescents as well as a monster amongst human society. Usually around a high school. There's a second edition called Monster Hearts 2, That's what I'm currently playing. And it's lots of fun. It is based off of the Powered by the Apocalypse system that Alistair mentioned a little earlier. That is a child, which blew my mind, of Blades in the Dark. It is a 2d6 system where 12 is a great success and 1 is a critical failure. And you can also get partial successes where you successfully do something you want to do, but there's a caveat to it.
Okay.
So it's also I'd also consider the Power by Apocalypse system to be a light system,
Sure.
um,
Yeah.
and there is almost not as much as Dungeons and Dragons, but the amount of games around the Powered by Apocalypse system is vast. So if you pick it up and you like it, then you'll also like Hunter of the Week, which also uses Powered by the Apocalypse, and a bunch of other games. But yeah, Monster Hearts. For any of you guys that like high school drama and monsters, you can't lose. Teen Wolf, let's go, Grr baby.
Nice. Nice. Let's see. I mean, I think those are my so well actually for honorable mentions recently by um Daggerheart had the read through the book,
Yeah.
haven't played, but I see that they're doing some pretty interesting stuff. I think it's a pretty strong D&D alternative. I'd hazard to say I'd actually like it a little bit more than D&D, based on what they're trying to do, trying to fix. Yeah, that's something to test, and I do believe a couple of the people on JRPGN have been
hmm
running it. Is that correct? Am
That
I
is correct.
right? Right.
You've met Dream. She has gotten her hand on the basic set, which blew my mind. It is a beautiful set with a whole bunch of cards, separate apart from the D20 system that it runs on. You get these sets of cards that shows attributes, community, and abilities. She's invited me to play in the game, and I played in session zero. I went to session zero, which, as Alistair described, is the first session where the player and the GMs get together and decide how the game is going to be played, character creation, and all questions are answered before the actual game is played. And I got to play 2 sessions of it, and I am very excited with my experience, and I am looking forward to the next plays. And when I took a glean as to what the people are saying amongst the community around what the game is, I've heard quite a bit of the same things you just said, which I find very interesting. Um, there's a lot of people and a lot of conversation in the RPG community about the D&D killer, and what that game might have been. That conversation has been as old as time. Ever since I got into the community, I've been hearing all sorts of people talking about a D&D, possible D&D killer. Um, I don't know. I'm just saying. I've enjoyed my 2 play sessions with Dagger Hearts. I'm looking forward to my next. And I'm strictly as a player. I've only read a bit of character creation because I want to experience this as a player. I'm having fun. And that's as much as I can say on it from now. I'm very excited to see what leveling up feels like. Looking at what the skill tree looks like for the clear archetype that I picked looks very exciting. Yeah,
Okay.
we'll see. Matt Mercer and his team at Critical Role just sold out a show in Australia. Had a bag of people pack up the arena watching the game. It went and made news. So who knows?
Okay.
Listening to your review just now on top of everything else that's been going on. Yeah, it's interesting to observe Dagger Hearts go at it.
Yep.
Um,
Yeah. Let's see.
it's wild. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, we could go on. I've even talked about you FBI X-File fans who might want to play Delta Green Call of Cthulhu. We can't go on, but hopefully we've whet your appetites and you guys will be interested in getting out there. Also, this is a podcast focused on straight listeners. You can hear the episode anywhere that you listen to podcasts. I also wanted to shout out the blind community out there in Jamaica. I went and hit up the Society for the Blind and Deaf, and I heard that there are a number of you out there who are playing card games and board games currently, and you have means of playing with dice. This is a second shout out to find out just how many of you out there who might be tuning in, who might be wondering if you are even able to play tabletop RPGs. Based on the conversation that you heard me and Alistair go off of with Theos for the Mind, with that experience, I've always wondered myself, because separate and apart from the digital dice, the rest of the game is completely based on our conversations with each other, which I'd be very interested to see if it would appeal to somebody in that community to give it a try. So this is another call out to anyone out there who is of the Blind Society who might be wondering, can you play? I think you can. There's a lot of these games, especially D&D, is available in Braille, and they have a
nice.
lot of and I found a couple of the RPGs that are available in Braille. And again, once you have digital PDFs, I understand that you have no problems going through PDF files. We've been speaking about physical copies of these games. A lot of them have digital PDF editions. Sadly, not all of them. So, for example, Square Enix released their Final Fantasy RPG, the Player's Handbook, and the Game Masters edition will be out next year, and they have a starter collection, but they only have physical copies of those.
That's actually pretty interesting. Not a lot of people opt for only physical books.
But then
at least not in 2025.
Yeah, you're saying that because you don't know Square Enix. Square Enix, they're all about their merch. They want their merch. They want people to pay for merch. This is as far as they're concerned, just another one of their merch for the video game. I don't think they expected to see such a large interest in the tabletop role playing game, because each batch that they push out sells out. They're also it's limited, and again, this is something they do on purpose, so they can price it any way they want. But again, with a community out there, there are illegitimate digital copies of just about everything.
Well, right, that's true.
There's that. I'll leave it, if you like the games that you tune into, I highly recommend that you guys support the creators of those games so that they can afford to make them better and keep producing stuff that you like. These people are working, they are game developers, they are writers. Some of them are doing this as a full-time job, and some of them are doing it as a hobby. And it requires they need money to spend. They have to feed their kids, buy the game.
Although I do know some of our newer players are, in college. You're broke. That's fine. That's okay.
Go to the table, play a game. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. So yeah, the of course with the hobby you don't have to put all the money into, you don't have to put any money into it. There's lots of free games, free process legally. So yeah.
That is a
and of course you can ask us questions. I can be found. We can write it in the little thingy thing at the end of all of this. But yeah, I can certainly be found online, and Fu can be found online. So ask us any questions that you might have.
For the listeners out there, go ahead and tell them, how do they find you, Alistair, and where?
Oh well, I suppose the easiest place to find me Twitter, really. At Mongoose, it's spelled weird, so we'll write it in the description. But you can find me there, and of course on Discord at the JRPGN Discord, I am there as Among. You can also send me a message there if you have any questions. I'll be happy to help. Yeah.
Wicked awesome and cool. Yeah, with me, you can find me just about everywhere. Tropical Tower, one word. Literally anywhere, type that in and you'll find me. And yes, it's also Tropical Tower on Discord, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and JRPGN everywhere as well. The website is launched. It's still under construction. We're still pushing stuff in there. So www.jrpgn.com is up. But give us time to continue filling out stuff and more accessible information in regards to just about everything that the community is up to, events, people that can be contacted, game masters for hire. Shout out to Mona Arts. You can find Mona Arts on Instagram. She actually runs games for people who are interested in playing. Hit her up and look at her packages and her schedule, and her games are mostly Dungeons and Dragons, so you can have fun there. But yeah,
Of course, my final plug is I can't forget because I am partly a game designer myself. Of course, I'm part of Duppies and Gunmen for Tabletop Jamaica. So we're making a local game. So that's another system that you can try. A local game set in Jamaica about, well, Duppies and Gunmen. So that's something else to look out for. You can certainly Google it and you can find us. It's free. That's the other important part. But I'm writing an adventure which hasn't come out yet. I'll let you guys know when it has, which is like a addition, expansion, etc., etc. But so far it looks to be going pretty well.
very
But yeah,
cool.
that's my final plug.
I've been speaking to Andre about setting up an interview so we can get to know more about it. I've been privileged enough to play two games. One of them was recorded on the now named Tabletop Jamaica YouTube, where I play as a fireman named Desmond McKenzie. That just so happens to look like Desmond McKenzie, just taller and stronger looking.
Nice.
Lots of fun. Duppies and Gunmen. And the website, I believe, is duppiesandgunmen.com. If I'm not
Still,
mistaken.
once again, under construction. If you also Google it, you can. There's a itch page. For those who know what itch is. Itch is a basically stuff for distributing PDFs and whatnot, which you can also use. So basically, if you Google it, you should land up somewhere. But yeah, I guess when we're making this, we can drop some links and so in the description, so you guys can check it out afterwards.
Most def. Go and support, guys. Go and play. And find us at live events. Duppies and Gunmen is being played. Support local Jamaicans in the field. Let's go.
Yeah,
Um,
but
all right. So yeah, this tropical mockingbird and this mongoose. We're gonna land this plane, and we hope you had a fun time. Look out for more episodes. Lots of exciting stuff happening. Yeah, y'all have a good night.
yeah, man, and thanks for having me. Thanks for listening, everybody. But yeah,
Yo,
until next time, I guess. Yep.
thanks for round four, dude. Let's go.
Yeah. Growing pain. But
Yeah.
yeah. Yep. All right. Peace.